Welcome back to the deep dive. You know how it is, you want the real scoop to understand complex stuff fast, get those aha moments, but honestly, who has the time to wade through everything? That's exactly what we do here. Today, we're getting into some really unusual territory, looking at stories bubbling just under the surface of official events. Expect some surprises, things that might make you see things a bit differently.
Yeah, so for this deep dive, we're digging into an audio recording from Secure Team. It's interesting because it connects, well, major political shifts with these really long-standing theories about hidden truths, stuff on Earth and out in space. Our job is basically to pull out the most compelling bets, lay them out clearly, and then, let you decide what you make of it all.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The recording kicks things off by talking about the vibe around a recent U.S. presidential election. Specifically, that surprise result. I mean, most people, the media, everyone seemed pretty convinced Hillary Clinton had it in the bag against Donald Trump, right?
Oh, absolutely. The source definitely emphasizes that widespread expectation. The actual outcome clearly sent ripples, let's say.
And the recording even throws in this kind of funny detail about a magic monkey in China. Apparently, it picked Trump to win.
Yeah, the speaker in the recording joked about wanting to borrow it, ask about Area 51, maybe get some lottery numbers, bit of levity there.
But yeah, levity aside, the serious question the source jumps to is, okay, new president. Does this mean we finally get alien disclosure?
Well, the recording gives some background there. It reminds us Hillary Clinton actually said during the campaign she'd, quote, find out what's going on in Area 51, get to the bottom of it all. And the source interprets this as basically pandering to the UFO community, which is an interesting point in itself, right? How this whole topic has moved from, like, the fringes much more into the mainstream.
Yeah, definitely.
And it also mentions John Podesta, who was big in her campaign. Apparently, WikiLeaks emails showed he had a, let's say, strong personal interest in UFOs. Lots of emails about it, according to the source.
Okay, so Clinton made promises, Podesta was interested, but Trump won. What did the recording say about his likelihood of disclosure?
Pretty skeptical, actually. The argument presented is, look, he's a businessman. He's got the economy to fix, major national security issues to deal with. The thinking in the recording is that revealing aliens exist just wouldn't be high on his to-do list.
Yeah.
Not a priority.
Makes sense from that perspective, I guess.
And connecting that to the bigger theme, the source expresses this general doubt that any government would ever really spill the beans, tell the whole truth. The feeling conveyed is that maybe people, citizens, will have to be the ones to dig up the info themselves. Don't wait for the official word, basically.
That definitely sets a theme. Okay, so from politics, the recording takes a hard turn. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Antarctica.
Yes, Antarctica.
Yeah.
Always mysterious.
The source highlights this trip John Kerry took when he was Secretary of State, and it points out he was the highest elected official ever in America to visit the continent, which does seem significant.
It does raise an eyebrow, yeah.
So the official story for Kerry's trip, talking climate change with scientists. Standard stuff. But the recording immediately goes, or was there a more sinister reason? And bam, we're down the rabbit hole.
Exactly. And it starts weaving together these different threads about Antarctica, like the recently discovered pyramids you sometimes see images of.
Pyramids in Antarctica.
That's the claim. And speculation runs wild, right? Are they leftovers from Atlantis? An alien connection. Who knows? But then he gets into this really dramatic story. Admiral Byrd and Operation High Jump.
Operation High Jump, I've heard of that, 1947.
That's the one. And the source emphasizes the sheer scale of it, not just a small expedition.
Yeah.
We're talking 4,000 military troops.
Wow.
3 naval battle groups, an icebreaker called the North Wind, destroyers, carriers, submarines. I mean, a massive force.
So what were they supposedly doing there?
Well, according to this narrative, they weren't just exploring. The claim is they were attacked by flying saucers that came up from the icy waters.
Attacked by UFOs.
That's the story from the source. And it was devastating. Supposedly wiped out half of his men and half of his ships. Just imagine. And Admiral Byrd, later on, in interviews cited by the source, apparently warned about a very real threat. Something based in Antarctica that could attack North and South America at any time.
It's chilling, if true. It sounds like something out of science fiction.
It really does. And this leads directly into the hollow Earth theory that the source discusses.
Ah, the hollow Earth. Okay, explain that according to the source. So the idea is the Earth isn't solid rock all the way through. It's hollow, with a space inside.
Pretty much. A very large landmass inside, potentially. And the theory, as presented, suggests there are races, civilizations living down there. And get this, many of the flying saucers people report seeing, they supposedly come from this inner Earth.
Okay, wow. And the recording connects this to the northern and southern lights, the aurora.
Yeah, it adds this detail that the auroras we see, Borealis and Australis, are actually light escaping from inner Earth entrances at the poles.
Escaping from what?
Light from an inner sun, that's the claim. A sun inside the Earth powering this hidden world. It's quite a picture, isn't it?
It certainly is, a whole internal world. And the source brings the Nazis into this.
It does. It claims that the Nazis, during World War II, actually found one of these entrances and even built a secret base down there in Antarctica. Neuschwabenland, it's sometimes called.
And that's where some of them escaped to after the war.
That's the narrative presented, that many high-ranking Nazis didn't die or get captured. They slipped away to this Antarctic sanctuary. And the source kind of links this to the Antarctic Treaty, the one saying no single country can claim ownership. And the fact that there are still areas there, supposedly under high military surveillance, that are off limits. It all feeds the mystery.
It adds layers, for sure. And what about those strange sounds mentioned up in the Arctic?
Right. The source draws a possible connection. These weird sounds coming from the Arctic Ocean near Canada. Apparently loud enough or strange enough that they scared all the local wildlife away. Whales especially, which is a big deal ecologically.
So, potential weirdness at both poles. Any link suggested?
Just the question, really. Is there a connection between the Arctic phenomena and whatever might be hidden in Antarctica, maybe related to these supposed entrances?
Speaking of entrances, what did they look like, according to the source material?
Well, the recording describes images associated with these claims. They show these openings, sometimes in the side of mountains down there. And they're described as distinctly saucer-shaped.
Like shaped for a flying saucer to go in.
That's the implication, as if designed for craft. One specific image is mentioned that looks like a huge doorway that's open, next to something resembling a large turtle shell embedded in the ice or rock. Very bizarre imagery.
It definitely sounds visual. So, wrapping up the Antarctica section, what's the takeaway from the source?
The main thrust is encouragement to do your own digging. Research Admiral Byrd, it says. Research Operation High Jump. Look into the Nazi base stories. The message is, don't just dismiss it all as crazy talk. When you start connecting the dots, the source argues, a lot of it really rings true. It's a call for independent investigation, essentially.
Gotcha. A challenge to look beyond the surface. Okay, so from the depths of Antarctica, let's shoot out into space. Comet 67P.
Comet 67P, Churyumov-Gerasimenko. Yes, the source apparently had a long-standing interest in this one.
And the big question the recording raises is why? Why this specific comet for the European Space Agency's Rosetta mission? I mean, the source points out there are plenty of comets closer to Earth. Sending a probe on a decade-long mission to this particular one, it set off alarm bells for some people.
Exactly. And that leads right into the conspiracy theory the source details, which is, well, pretty out there. The theory is that Comet 67P wasn't a comet at all. Not really. It was some kind of alien device. A beacon, maybe? Or even a dormant spacecraft disguised as a comet.
Disguised. Wow. And ESA and NASA knew this.
That's the claim, that they were in on it, keeping it quiet. The source mentions whistleblower claims supporting this idea. The argument being, it kind of absurd to think that space agencies would pour billions of dollars and over a decade of work into just getting pictures of some random chunk of ice and rock. There had to be more to it.
So what more did the source suggest? Any evidence offered?
Well, it claims that mysterious signals, space signals, had been detected coming from that area of space near 67P for maybe over 2 decades before the mission was even launched.
Signals, like artificial signals.
That's the implication. And even more, that the comet's composition, what it was made of, seemed, well, artificial, that it had machine-like parts visible on the outside.
Machine parts on a comet. That's a huge claim.
It is. And then there were the sounds, or more accurately, these mysterious magnetic oscillations the probe detected.
Right, you can't hear sound in space, but they can convert other things, like magnetism, into sound waves we can hear.
Precisely. And the source says these sounds, these oscillations, were something they could not explain. It mentions that Comet Halley also had detectable oscillations, but 67Ps were just very different, unique, unexplained.
Okay. Signals, machine parts, weird sounds.
Then comes the big reveal, according to the source, a new discovery, an image supposedly snapped just before the spacecraft was shut down or crashed onto the comet.
And what did this image allegedly show?
It apparently showed an object described as looking like a stealth fighter jet, specifically a sort of triangular-shaped object.
Mm-hmm.
The source even compares it to a TR-3B-shaped craft. Now, the TR-3B, for listeners who might not know, is this legendary, almost mythical, alleged secret U.S. military aircraft.
Triangular.
Supposedly uses exotic propulsion. Big in UFO lore.
A TR-3B on a comet.
That's the staggering claim. And the source points out that this triangular shape is maybe the most common shape reported for UFOs seen here on Earth. And it connects that to the fact that, yes, the U.S. military has developed triangular stealth aircraft, like the B-2 bomber, though the TR-3B remains unconfirmed. So seeing that shape out there, well, it raises enormous questions.
I'll say, so the source basically concludes that this object, this finding, throws Rosetta's whole mission into a new light.
Yeah, pretty much. It reinforces the suspicion that the real mission all along was to specifically take pictures of the comet and the objects on it, not just general cometary science.
Okay, so let's try and tie this all together. We've gone from political shifts possibly influencing disclosure to really deep mysteries under the ice and Antarctica Operation High Jump, Hollow Earth ideas, potential hidden bases.
And then all the way out to Comet 67P with theories about it being an alien beacon or ship, emitting signals, having strange objects on it.
What seems to link all this, at least in the source material, is this deep current of skepticism about official stories and this hint of, well, much bigger truths being hidden.
Absolutely. It raises that fundamental question, doesn't it? Why do these kinds of alternative narratives, these conspiracy theories, if you want to call them that, persist so strongly? What is that human drive to look for answers beyond what we're told? And the source, as we noted, really hammers home the idea of doing your own research, thinking critically, trying to connect those dots yourself.
Yeah. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with, something to chew on. If this truth, as the source suggests, really is out there, whether it's under the ice or out in space or locked in government files, why does it always seem to stay just out of reach, just beyond public confirmation? And what would actually happen? What would the real implications be if one of these massive secrets was suddenly undeniably confirmed, not just by researchers, but by the powers that be?
That's the big question, isn't it? Something to ponder.
Definitely. Well, that's all we have time for on this deep dive. Until next time.